Welcome back to LivAnimated.com. Let's learn something new. We last left off with our character rigging it, skinning it, and testing it in the Unreal Engine to make sure that it exported correctly and that it would be ideal to move forward. That all was a success. What we're going to be working on now is getting the clothes into the character. The character that we're working on has underwear. We are going to rig and skin that underwear to the model. Let's go right into it. Let's open up our last scene that we worked with, that we saved before we built our rig. So we want to look at our character skin 16, and we're going to open this file. The reason why I want to put it on this version of the file is because if you take your FBX, bring the clothes into the FBX that's been imported into the Maya scene, yes, you'll be able to skin the clothes to that rig and then re-export the clothes out. That's really only going to work for you in the engine, meaning that you can layer the clothes on top. It'll take on the same motion as the body rig, and it'll work fine. But what we want to do is in the Maya scene itself, we want to make sure the clothes follow it correctly and are part of our main rig file, so that we don't just work with a naked character the whole time. We do want to see how the clothes are going to deform. So that's why I'm going back and putting the clothes on at this stage. We already know that our rig export works, and that if we export it again, it should work again. It's just that next time we're going to be able to export it with the clothes being a part of the export. So we have our file open. We are going to unhide the clothes. If you go into the outliner, you can go to the outliner by pressing here, and then select the clothes that are hidden. Hit H. That is the toggle for unhiding the clothes. As you can see, the clothes are in the right position to start off in its base pose. What we want to do is we want to select the joints and then select this mesh and then add it to a bind skin so that it gets picked up as like a skinnable mesh. So let's shift click on our root, select our root. I just want to select everything because I want the hierarchies to be exactly the same. Once we have that selected, you want to go and select the underwear and then go to the rigging tab. Under the rigging tab, you want to go to skin, bind skin. Now it's going to be bound, but it's not going to be bound perfectly. And what we can do to test this binding of skin is select our thigh joints right here, and we're going to just rotate them. You can see how the mesh gets lost when we rotate on our z-axis. It gets pulled in too far. All right, so we're going to correct that. Same thing with this upper body too, but we're going to do the lower body first. So let's just go ahead and set a key. Make sure you're back. You undid what you just did. Set a key, press S, go about 30 frames out, rotate the legs up about 90 degrees, set another key, and then let's go back and set them back as far as we think we'll go with them. And then set a key. All right, so let's go back to our 0 frame. Now we're going to paint these weights. We cannot paint these weights with the tool because we added these as just a bind skin. We didn't bind it through the ARTv2 system. So let's save our file. Let's save as. We'll do this as the next iteration. So number 17. So we have our mesh selected. So make sure your mesh is selected, and we're going to do skin, paint weights. What we want to do first is we want to make sure that we first got to open up the correct editor. So open up your tool settings, and you'll have the paint weight selection right here. We want to make sure that we put everything first to the pelvis, and we'll start painting from there. A lot of the vertices right now are going to be sharing the waist between, I think, spine 1, spine 2, pelvis, and then the right and left thigh and the right and left calf, I think, a little bit. So we want to make sure we zero all those things out. The best way to do that is, let's hit W, get out of our paint weights. Let's go back to Windows in our general editors, and let's open up our component editor. Now what we want to do is right click and go to vertex mode, select a vertice, hold down shift and press the period key a few times, well a lot actually, until everything's selected. Once everything is selected, you want to go over to pelvis, select the first vertex, and then scroll down and then shift select the last vertex and hit 1. This way it'll ensure that everything is to the pelvis. We don't have to worry about anything being to the root or to any other joint that we don't want it to. Now when we select the pain and weight that we want to put on it, we can be assured, unselect, go back to object mode. We can be sure that we're only going to be blending between the pelvis and the other joint that we know is selected and the one that we want to use. So let's go back to our paint weights. We have this selected. Let's go to skin, paint weights. We still have this editor window open, so we can just leave that how it is. So if you look at right now, everything is to the pelvis. Perfect. What we're doing is we're doing painting. We're doing replace. So this all looks fine. Our value for painting is a 0.1, which is fine. We're pretty much doing blending at this point anyway, so I think that's fine. Let's go, and what we want to do is let's start moving the keys up a little bit. All right. Let's actually move the keys up a lot. I think we were at frame 30, so go to frame 30. And you see how there's like a huge gap here. We're going to want to paint on that. Let's hide our joints. It's going to save again. And we are going to want to work with, if we scroll down, thigh. Oh, it looks like it only stopped at the thigh. Interesting. Oh, I think it only grabbed what it needed. All right, so thigh left and thigh right. So let's go to thigh right. And we are going to begin to paint on thigh right. As you can see, it's starting to conform a little bit onto thigh right. This is what we want to do. Let's change this to a 0.3. Too much. Let's change this to a 0.15. So it'll be a little bit more subtle for us to work with our brush, but it'll still get us closer to what we want. Do a little bit here. If you hold down shift while you're clicking and painting, it'll blend between the two. We don't want her to have this baggy look in her underwear. So we want to make sure this edge here is a little bit more. So let's do a 0.25. There we go. That looks pretty good. We may want that to be a little bit more here underneath the thigh. I'm just holding down shift and painting the weights right here, just so it gets a nice blend and it's smooth. So see, that was pretty quick. We can leave that like that, right on the edge down there, because you can see if there was another row of segments right here, it would be a little bit more rounder. I'm more for keeping that as clean as possible. Let's look at the front, see what that's looking like. we're going to want this to go back to the pelvis. So if we select our pelvis again, and we want this to go to 1, let's select 1 again for this part right here. All right, now let's go back to 0.25, and we were looking at our right thigh. See, this shouldn't be right thigh at all. This should be pelvis. So let's just put that back to what it was. All right, 0.25. Let's go back to our right thigh. All right, that looks good. This needs to be back to pelvis as well, just because we don't want to have any mistake areas where it's blending all weird, because we'll know why. It's because we didn't like go back and fix our work. All right, now let's go back. There we go. That looks better. 0.25. Let's rotate forward. That blends pretty good. Now let's do the other side. So we're going to do left thigh, and we're going to do 0.25. That's not what you want to do. You want to do it like this. You don't want to really blend those in. You want to blend the other part. Again, I'm holding down Shift and doing this part. Get into conform. We need to go back here to our pelvis and blend back on here. Whoa, 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 no, no, no. I just undid all that. We do not want that like that. Let's go back to our left thigh. Let's do this as a 0.1. Let's do a shift. That's better. Now let's go to our left thigh, right thigh. Those thighs are, what am I doing? What am I doing? 0.1. Let's do a 0.25, which is what we had it on. I think we are messing up our pelvis. Let's do a 0.1. Let's go back here. We're doing a full-on 1 for pelvis. That's what we're doing. Now let's do a 0.1. Let's go back to our thighs. Go back here to 30. Hold down Shift. We're doing 0.25. That's what we're doing for this area. Can make this smaller. Hold down B and left click and drag. You can make the paint diameter smaller. Go back to our left thigh. Do the same thing. Holding down Shift just to make sure I get a nice smooth blend. That looks better, but she has like a little crotch thing right here going on. We want to go back to our pelvis. We want to put this back to 1. And we want to bring these back out. Yeah, we're gonna do this. Hold down Shift. See, we're still getting that issue. All right, let's go back to our left thigh, right, lefts. And we want to paint on this, and we'll do a 0.25 up here too. Go to our right thigh, paint these. Left thigh. Let's do a 0 because we don't want this to be a part of the left thigh. So you can paint negative weights. So we're going to do that like that. Go back to a 0.25. There we go. Get all this painted. Go back to 0. We don't need this painted. Because we're looking at our left thigh, so we don't need anything over here painted for left. Go back to 0.1, 0.25. All right, let's go back to our right thigh. That looks good. All right, let's just save our file. Let's look and see what this looks like if we go up to frame 30 and then go to frame 60. So we go in this way. This needs to be blended. So let's go back and do that. This is our left thigh that we're working on. Just hold down Shift. Move your painter through there. Your paintbrush. There you go. So this we wanna blend. So you can blend it like that, and then get the right thigh. Do a little bit of the right thigh on here too. That's good. You can blend this down a little bit more. Make sure you hold down Shift when you do that. Let's go back to our left thigh. Make sure we hold down Shift so this is symmetrical. There we go. All right, so this little part right here, we are going to want to blend this between both. But right now, let's go back to our pelvis, and we don't want to do that. Undo what you just did. We want to go back to our thighs. Since we have the legs up, it's going to move that mesh up. So we're on our right thigh right now. So if you hold down Shift, you should be able to blend those in a little bit. We might still get we're still getting that issue there. Let me see if I can blend it in so it looks good at this point. Pelvis, and we'll do a 0.01. That is not what you want. Let's see, let's do 0.1. Nope. Right thigh, 0.25. Let's try a 0.3. Looks like this wants to be, 0.3, and then the left thigh, let's do a 0.3. Want some of this. Let's see if we scrub now. It's a little bit better, but we got to get here. Nope. 0.25. Nope. 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 Stuff's on the pelvis. All right, so it's working on one side, but not the other. Let's see. Let's go back to our left pelvis. Let's go back to 0.3. Let's see what that looks like. That's better. When the leg is up anyway, you're not going to be able to see that. We do want to get this little pouch area though. So this one we can do, let's do a point. Let's go back to 0.1 and let's just hold down shift and slowly let this conform so that it's smoother. Let's get some of the left thigh up in there too. This looks fine like this. All right, cool. Save your file. Let's go to frame 60 and see what that looks like. That looks pretty good. Nice. And that skin moving in the area right here, that's because the body is moving. The actual skin mesh for the stomach is moving with the spine and blending a little bit. Let's see what that looks like in the engine first before we start tinkering around with that. Let's work on the upper body right now. So let's do the same thing. Let's put this all to spine 3. We will hit W. We're going to save our file, Control S. We're going to go to Windows. We're going to open up our general editor again, and we're going to open up the component editor. Now we want to go back to vertex mode. Select one of the vertices, Shift and period until you have everything selected. Everything is selected. We want to put this all to spine 3. So select the first one and then scroll down and we'll hit 1 for spine 3. Now let's go back into our object mode and we want to set some keys. So let's unhide our joints and delete the keys that we had for the thighs. Oh, yeah, that's right. Delete these keys. Always start at the highest number and work your way down so that as you delete these keys, you're not deleting it and leaving it on frame 60 as your base. You want it to still be back to 0, 0, 0. You can still zero them out, but it's just good habit to work that way. So now that we're on frame 0, we can delete and everything should be back to its default pose. Now let's go up here. What we want to do here is we want to, let's move the breast joints out. Let's move them out on the x-axis so we can pull them out. Once we pull them out, it'll be a lot easier to paint the weights, I believe, onto the top, the bra, underwear, and then we'll have it conform to it. We'll try a few things before we get that far. We just want to make sure it's moving with it completely. So let's set some keys. So we're going to go here, select both of them, hit S on 0. Let's go out to frame 30 again. we want to move them out like that and hit S again. So let's move these back. So if you go to frame 0 and frame 30, now they're moving forward. Now let's select the top. We want to go back to our paint weights. It's already a part of the hierarchy of the joints. So now we want to go to our skin paint weights. Everything should be on spine 3. And what we're going to do now is we're going to paint to the breast joints. We have breast joint R and breast joint L. So we can start with R, which is going to be over here. And it's on a 0.1. So let's do a 0.25. If we move it out, let's hide our joints. Go back to show and hide joints. If we move this out here to like frame 10 and we start to paint, you can see that it starts to cover, and that's not going to be enough. So let's do a 0.5. All right, that's starting to paint a little bit more. We're going to do 0.75. All right, let's do a little bit more. So you can see there's going to be some parts where we want it to be almost 1 completely. So we just want to paint around on the edges just so we can get a little bit of blending there. So this part right here is probably going to be full on 1. So we can do 1 right here. There we go. All right. So now if we keep going all the way to 30, which is pretty extreme, and we're never going to really get to that, we still want to paint it out to there only because it's our worst case that we're going to have, and we want to make sure that this is really conforming well to the chest. You can always blend it more. But we want to make sure we get this as close as possible. Hold down shift on some of these areas. I'm just holding down shift a little bit on here. I want to do a 0.5 and I want to add these to it just for a little bit of give. Just 0.5. Work that through there a little bit. Just so it has a little bit of give to it. All right, so now that looks pretty good. So let's do the other one right quick. Then we need to work on the clavicle for the 2 parts that go across the shoulders. So let's go out to here. Let's go to 30, and we're looking at the left, and we're going to want that to be 0. I don't even know why this is pulling there. All right, so let's put this back on 1. Let's start in the center. As you can see, it's starting to pull forward. Just slowly work your way around. It'll start to grab the verts. You don't need to hold down shift yet. Just try to get everything painted first. And then we can go back around and hold down shift and let it blend in a little bit more. There we go. Let's add this back to a 0.5. We're going to want to get the underside so that is working a little bit better. And hold down shift. Just want to get a little bit of blending in there. All right. Let's go back to the other breast joint. We want to add some more on here. So this has a little bit of deformation on it. All right, let's do this part right here too. Put this back to 1 for right here. You're going to want to put this on 0 because this should not have that other joint on it. We want to look at the left and make sure this doesn't have anything on it. So see, that's why that was all getting pulled forward. All right. Now we want to go back to frame 0, hit W so we can get out of there. Now we're outside of our paint weights, and what we want to do is we want to show our joints and then delete the motion we had on these 2 breast joints. So we'll go to frame 30, shift select and delete, and go here and delete as well. Now all I want to do is hit my rotate, which is E, and you want to rotate and see how that looks. So we're going to want to kill on the waistband what we have on there. We're going to want to select this, go back to paint weights, and we're going to want that to be a little bit more stationary. That shouldn't be moving as much as it does. It shouldn't have that much influence. So we're going to go back to paint weights, spine 3. And we want to go back to a full-on 1. And we want to paint these weights back here to be 1. All on this strap right here. We want all this to be 1. We don't want this moving around. All right. Plus, with this being the bra, it's to support, so you won't have the same type of jiggle if you were doing if it was just the breast alone. So we don't have to worry about that. We just want this to conform well. And even if it stays like how it is on spine 3, there doesn't have to be much movement at all. when this is on. Now, if you want to take this off and you want to do like try to get some more physics type motion in there for realistic bounce, or if you want to just hand key that bounce, go for it. Then I would just say leave it how it is for what we have for the chest, and then you're going to have the bra off anyway. So, or armor or whatever you have for your type of character. So let's go back again and select these joints and go to rotate on E. That looks a lot better. It's still moving a little bit. See, it's catching the light, which is kind of cool, but you don't want it to do that. So let's go back again and paint. Again, select, go to skin, paint weights, go back to our spine 3. It's on 1. I think it was wiggling like here. All right, let's go W again. Select our breast joints, E. All right, we have some issues at the bottom. Select it again, paint weights. Let's go underneath. Let's actually go here and hide the mesh. So we want to do H, just so we can make sure we get everything that we want underneath the skin that we can't really see that well. Hit W, select this mesh again, skin, and then we're going to go back to our paint weights, and then we're going to be on spine 3 at 1, and then we want to, here it is right here. You can see how it's a little discolored. You want that to be white, 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 white. Let's look at this over here. This all looks good. Just make sure all this on this ring right here is white. All right. Hit W. Select your mesh in your outliner. Hit H. Unhide your joints. Select your joints. Hit E. Now let's turn off wireframe here. There you go. So these are moving a lot better. Now let's lift the arms up a little bit. Make sure you don't have no keys. Let's save our file. File save. Okay, so let's look at raising the arms up and see what the straps are doing. If the straps are fine, then they're fine. But let's look at raising the arms and seeing where we need to start incorporating the clavicle with the chest and maybe the upper arm, just to see where things are and what we need to do to make it look better. So we're going to set some keys. Let's get rid of this window for now. Let's just select our clavicles. Hit save again. We want to set some keys, so let's hit S so we can keep it in this pose. Let's also select our upper arm. Hit S. All right, now let's go back to our clavicle. Let's rotate it on the Y axis. Oh, you can see how it's not conforming. We're gonna make sure those straps are conforming better. Undo that. Let's move up to frame 30 and then rotate. Let's hit S. So we'll select our upper arms, rotate, hit S. All right, so you can see where the problem areas are right here. So we're going to go in and paint those weights and blend that in. So now let's go to selecting the mesh. Let's go to skin. Let's go to paint weights. Let's open up our little hammer icon up here, which is our tool settings. and we are on spine 3 right now. What we want this to be on, we probably want this to be, let's go back to our breast joint. That's our left breast. This needs to be on, let's do 0.5. These need to be like that. It's 0.7, 0.75. That's better. All right, so we want these to, hold down shift. We want this to be to the clavicle. So clavicle R. And then let's do a 0.5. And then we're going to start painting these weights. I'm holding down shift a little bit so we can get a nice blend. Same thing for the back. First, I'm going to not hold shift so I can get everything to get a little bit of weight to it, and then hold shift so I can get it to blend better. That looks pretty good. All right, let's do the same thing on the other side. So we want to go clavicle L, 0.5. Same thing here. So let's just start getting some weights on there, some paint on there first. Then hold down shift. Let it blend a little bit better. We're going to fix this in a little bit and see that that's messed up too. I'm not ignoring it. Get a little bit more paint back here. There we go. Make sure this is blending well. That looks pretty good. I do not like how that is sticking in there right now, though. Let's see. It's not coming down either. So let's do a 0.2. Let's do a point. Let's do a 1. That's not changing. Is the neck different on both sides? It is not. So it looks like if we do spine, we do a 0.5. So on the spine, that's what that looks like, huh? Let's get this blended back together. That should be, oh, okay, so this is the problem with paint weights. I was looking at it like this, and I was probably painting straight down off into here. Yeesh. What I'm doing right now is just undoing. Not that it'll matter. I should just have to go back down there and repaint those. Same thing right here. So we want to go back to where this is on spine 3, and it's at 1. So we just want to repaint those back on there. Ah, but I see it's blending too. It's blending on there as well. So we need to, that wouldn't be the clavicle. It probably would be the clavicle. So let's go to our clavicle and do a little bit of blending here. 0.5. You just want to blend it a little bit. So you can do 0.2. Just so it moves a little bit with the arm. Same thing here. Wrong arm though. Go to clavicle R. You want this to be back to spinal 3. Let's put our arms back down. Spine 3 at 1%, not 2. Let's get this back to looking like what we had it. All right, let's move our arms up again. This we need to address on both sides, it looks like. So we're on our clavicle left, and we are going to do a 0.25. Let's add a little bit more weight here. B and left click changes the size of your paintbrush. Do that like that. Do that like that. I want to, see it's cutting back over there. Let's do 0. We can do it like this. Make sure this is, make this a little bit larger. Make sure there's no influence from the other side, because we don't need any. Let's look at clavicle R. Make sure there's no influence over here. Okay, that looks good. This right here is still poking out a little bit too much for me. That needs to be clavicle R. It needs to be blended, I think. Let's see what it looks like if I add a little bit more spine. Oh, that is not what you want. Let me see. Oh, that's 0. Duh. There we go. Let's do a 0.2 for the blending. Oof. Let's do a point. Let's do a 0.1. That's still too much. Clavicle. Put a little bit of clavicle on there. That looks better. I might need to be down more. Let's do a 0.2. looks good. All right. Save your file. Close this window. Arms. We got some weird funkiness over here underneath the bosom. That looks like it's using something that shouldn't be there. So let's go back to our paint weights. Open up this. Spine 3. Our breast joints. Clavicle R, clavicle L, spine 3. Let's do spine 3 at 100 again. And just make sure this is back to what it needs to be. Yeah, that's not right. This should be onto the breast joint. This should be onto spine 3. What else could this be on? This could be on the clavicle. Yeah, right there. Left clavicle. Let's put this on 0. Oh, wait, go back. Make sure you're not painting through it. Let's go and hide this mesh H. Let's select this again and go back to our skin paint weights. Yeah, you can see it's being influenced right here. So this needs to be 0. Yeah, I was nowhere near painting them. Get at a good angle where you don't have to hit anything on the other side. There you go. So now if we move, it's fine. Okay, let's unhide this again. H, hit W, close this, save your file, close that. So now we should be good to go. We need to delete these frames off of here. So select your joints that we have keys on. We're going to delete these keys. Save your file again. Now let's open up our rig creator from the ARTv2 tools. I'm going to do rig creator. Now we want to build our rig. So let's do build rig. Oh man. This is what happened last time, I believe. Let's see. What are we doing wrong? Skin 17. We don't want to edit setup. Object mode. Maybe because I'm building rig over and over and over. Oh yes, I remember. I think we want to get rid of these. Yeah, we want to get rid of these. I think. So we're not going to save it just yet. Build rig. There we go. That's right. We had to delete those last time. Those were the helper nodes that got generated for some reason. So we'll do continue. Female. We're going to do base female mesh. Let's just overwrite what's there. That doesn't look right. It's not, our rig is not on there. We shouldn't be in the edit setup. Maybe we're just picking our name. Oh, well, that's fine. So, yeah, let's just overwrite this. Yes, overwrite. All right. Yes, we do want, okay, so we want to do our rig pose because it does work better when the arms are up, and we had it like this last time. So let's do this again. We're going to make our arms go up. We're going to make our feet go in. So let's look for the leg. Leg. And this will be better for when we start working with mocap as well. Leg L, leg R. All right. And then we want to click continue. We want to click skip this phase. We want to click you can hold down Alt and do like right click wheel mouse and then just click in the scene to take everything off. So I want to go to take your gizmo away so that it's a clean image. Click continue, build, and now it should build out your controllers, and now we'll have our rig with our controllers and with the outfit as a part of it. Again, like I was mentioning before, if we would have just left this where we skinned it onto the rig file, the base file, that wouldn't have been how you wanted it, because your character would have just been naked inside of Maya the whole time. You want to work with the character with the clothes on so you can see if possible you need to change the pose or make it work better. So we shouldn't have any problems with this. It should export, and then what we're going to do is re-export our main FBX file to have our clothes and our character. And then from there, we'll recheck that in Maya. We should be able to still use the same animation file we had before because it's just the joint data. And then if that works, now we should be able to see our character with clothes on, with their arms down. I think they were like doing some kind of shimmy in their shoulders or something like that. And then we should be good to go to move on to the next phase. So we're going to wait for this to build and then open up our Unreal project, export this, and then import it into Unreal to finish off the test. So right now we're just waiting. I'm not re-editing these videos, so I'm waiting just like you would if you're building this right now on your own, on your machine. Just want to make sure it works. Looks like we're getting like a cycle head Neko 1 mover offset scale may not evaluate as expected. I don't see where there's any issues in that. We didn't change anything. It looks like it's just a not a fail-safe error, but it's just like a hey, what's happening? So it says the FK and IK builds were successful, and the rig build is complete. So let's go to new scene. You can close this window. You can close your outliner. We can go to ARTv2. ARTv2 is how you want to load your rigs in. So ARTv2, and then add rig for animation. Go to female and then female base as selected. Should come in with clothes on, and everything should work if you were to move the legs. We can make our own picker, but we should have one saved from when we did it before, I believe. So if you click this and then click on base female picker or whatever your character name was, because we did create it before, load picker. There's our picker. So now if we select the feet and we want to move the feet up, you see the clothes are now moving with the body. Oh, we didn't do the side. Oh, it still works. Sweet. All right. And now if you select these and rotate, it should still rotate. Jiggle there. Ooh, wait, what do I see here? Oh, nothing. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do, that works. We are going to, let's make a new scene. What we want to do here is we want to go to ARTv2. We want to go to edit rig. Let's close this too. ARTv2 edit rig, and now let's select a female that we just put in here. Don't save. This should give us a whole nother box of options once it's loaded, and this is where we're going to go to export our character. There we go. You can close this. Now what we want to do is we want to export our character. Let's go to export skeletal meshes. Click OK. Now we're not going to export it through this tool. We're going to export it from just using the outliner. So it's still loading or writing the file. And what this is doing is pulling up our save data of our rig that doesn't have the controls on it. So that's what it's loading up right now, which is this. All right, so what we're going to do is go to your outliner. We are going to open up our root, select everything in our root joint system, and we want to select this mesh and this mesh. Now what we want to do is we want to export selected, and then we just want to navigate to where we saved our FBX exports before, and we want to overwrite that. And when we bring this into Unreal, it should bring in both meshes and separate them out. We'll see. It should, because they're two separate meshes. They're just rigged to the same skeleton. So if you go to our export folder, we have idle and rig. So let's select our rig. That's what we want to export. All these look correct. I'm just going to turn this to 10. Let's turn on deformed models. Let's turn on constraints and skeleton definitions. Z up, that's fine. And then export selection. Yes, we want to overwrite the file. All right, that looks like it could be fine. So close this window. It's going to take you back to your rig file with the controllers on it. There you go. All right, so now let's open up our Unreal project. Once this is loaded, we should be able to simply, because we tested it before and it worked, we should be able to bring in our updated rig file. So as you can see, here's our rig files right here. Let's go and navigate to where our FBX is at that we just created. Exports. So let's just click and drag this back in here. All right. So it's saying that these are different because we went in and we updated the textures. So it wants to re-import the textures, which is fine. It's because it wants to add the underwear. Everything else is the same. So the underwear is unmatched, so we'll add that to it. It should bring in the texture for that. If not, we'll have to bring it in manually. So that's fine. So let's do reset FBX. It did not bring in the textures. So let's bring in the textures. What I'm looking at right now is if you navigate to your textures folder, underwear C. All right. You should see a PNG file where the underwear is at. And we want to bring that in. So let's bring in our underwear. Boop. We're going to want to make a material out of the underwear. Looks like we have a normal map, and we also have another file. Let's bring that into. I didn't bring these in for the other setup, I don't believe. Let's look and see. No, I didn't. That's fine. All right, so let's update this underwear. So if we do this and select, this is where the underwear is. If we do highlight, yep, that's the underwear. See, it doesn't have a texture on it, so we need to give it a texture. So we already have a texture for it, which is, we need to make it a material. So let's make a material. And we're going to call this the same thing. So it's female. Let's just copy and paste this and then call it material. RM. V_M. So if we open this up, we can bring this in and connect this to our base color. Save. All right, now if we open up this and we navigate, we can do female underwear C, and it should put the texture on there. There we go. There's our texture. All right, awesome. So now she has on underwear, but you can also take the underwear off and she'll be naked again. So it's awesome. It's an extra mesh on there. Now for animation, we should be able to see the same animation. I think. Yes, we do. So here's our character. You hit play. There's our character. Is she idling? I thought there was a little bit of motion on there. Her arms are down. I think that's what was the file. So her arms are down. See, her underwear is on. You should be able to you should be able to have another version if you didn't want the underwear on there. And that would be if you took this off, I believe. Let me see. I'm just going to save these right quick. I think if you take the underwear off of her, or I thought you could do that. Here, hold on, let me see. Let me undo that. I guess not. Maybe you can make it just invisible. Yeah. You can probably make it invisible to take it off. But for now, this is fine because this is how we want it to look in here anyway. Moving forward. I think we can add her other stuff in here too. Normal map. Let's see what this makes it look like. It should make it look better. Or not better because it already looks good, but it should make it look a little bit different. So this is the normal map. And then the R was what? Is that the roughness? I think that's our roughness map. Let's hit save. Save and close this window. And then let's look at what it looks like with this updated texture on it. Let's go to play in a new window. Let's maximize this. All right, there's our character. Looks cool. Looks awesome. All right. Well, there's our character. Nice, nice, nice. All right, so hope you guys learned something new. We were able to get our character updated and in the engine with clothes on now. If you want to go back and have a version with and without clothes, let's do that right now. Let's do that right now. I think we overwrote what the export file was, but let's do a version with and without clothes right quick. I think that's going to be fast. If we go back into, let's go back into Maya. Let's go back here. Let's go to export skeletal meshes again. We still have it open. So if you didn't have Maya open, open up Maya and then go back to ARTv2 and load in. Let me click on it right quick once it's done loading. It's going to be ARTv2 and you want to go to edit rig. Edit rig will take you back to this screen that we have right here. This was the Maya that we had open where we were doing our export from. As you can see, everything is still open. The export skeletal meshes. What I'm doing right now is I re-clicked on that button so that it can get the mesh back to what it was. We're going to export a version that doesn't have the underwear on so that when we're doing our tests, we can see one with and one without the underwear. Because I don't think it's going to let you take it off since we updated the FBX for it to be that way. I thought it was going to split it off. Normally it splits off everything if it's separate, but I think that's only if you export it separately, which is what we can do. We can just export that separately and export the mesh. So then when we're inside of the scene, we can make a character BP and then load that in together. That's probably what we want to do. and then we load in the clothes as you know, an additional mesh inside of our character blueprint. So let's leave this how it is. But let's select our root and all our joints, and then just select the base mesh. And so we will export selected, and we will export this as rig, but we're going to say rig naked. And then we'll do export selection. All right, and now we'll do the same thing, but we'll only select the clothes, and we'll do export selection clothes. Or underwear, keep it consistent, since that's what it is. All right, so now let's go back into our Unreal project. And we should be able to bring in it's going to use the same textures, but we should be able to bring in the version that we just created. So navigate to where your files are in the Windows Explorer, and then I want you to go to where our rig folder is, and we're going to just drag those into the scene. It shouldn't overwrite anything. If anything, it should just, it's going to probably ask you what rig you want to use, and we can just select our base female mesh rig, which is fine. It's just going to be a different mesh. So that should work fine. So go back to File. We're back over here. So in your Windows Explorer, so go to File, Base Mesh, Export. We want naked and underwear, and we want to bring those in. There we go. And it's going to ask us, and yes, it's the base female mesh skeleton. Import all. Yeah, that's what you want. Import all. It should not bring in a duplicated textures. That would be silly, because it's going to use the same textures. It did not. Okay, good. It just brought in the naked version and then the clothes. So that's fine. We got that same thing before. So now we have our clothed version, which is our normal one right here, and we have our naked one. I see. But here's our naked one, but it doesn't have the animation on it. And then here's our outfit. So yeah, we're going to want to make a character BP. Blueprint class, actor. We could do just an actor for now, because we're not setting up anything else. So with this, we should be able to add components, static mesh, skeletal mesh. So now we can bring in our base female rig. We want to bring in the one that's naked. Excuse me, I just scratched my nose. So we have our naked one in here. There's no anim class yet. We can set up the idle to be that. But what I want to show you was, if we bring in, we should be able to bring in another skeletal mesh. And then this one is going to be the clothes. So the underwear, right? This one and this one. And then we just have to make sure they both use the same anim class. Yeah. So we'll do compile, save, and then we'll do, let's move this over here. And we probably want this to be not an actor but something else, but I just want to show you how we can get the clothes on there. But if we do animation blueprint, we're going to use our female mesh skeleton. We're just going to say ABP. We'll just do idle for now. Oh, we could do a 1D though. We'll just do idle for now. And then in here, we're just going to bring in our asset browser, the idle animation, put that in there like that. Compile, save, close. I'm sorry if I'm going fast. I'm going to teach this in another video. I just want to show you, if you want to follow along with this too, I just want to show you how quickly you can export each piece out instead of having it where it's always there, the PC version or the PG-13 version. But if you want to use the version where it's naked and then you add the clothes how you want, this is how you would do it. And then you can go here and bring in, what do we call this? Oh, ABP idle. There you go. So you're going to bring in idle for that one, and you want to go back here and put idle on for that one. And then compile, save. And then you want to just bring this in. And then there's the character with the clothes. Or you can go back in here and delete that. Compile, save. And there she is without the clothes. So it all depends how you want to set it up. But now you have your naked version and your other version in here. There you go. They're both in there. Pretty cool. All right, so now that we have that in there, that's awesome. Everything worked as expected, which is good. Make sure you save your files. Make sure you save what we just exported, because we're going to be using those same characters as we move forward with working on animation stuff. I hope you guys learned something new. That was awesome. See you soon.